I gotta introduce myself this way because Mom got on me for not doing it appropriately. My name is Jesus D. Hernandez Jr., but y'all can call me Jesse. I'm recording this so that I have proof to take back to Mom that I was doing good things out here. I wasn't misbehaving myself. I do work for Lifetime Property Development. You're probably familiar with Lifetime Fitness, and you can also tell that I'm not a trainer. I work for them. I serve as the director of EH&S, which is a role that I've been serving in for approximately 7 months. It's a totally new role. But I come from the trades. You know, my buddy Adam yesterday mentioned he's a plumber. I'm a second generation plumber. And don't tell anybody, but my sole 100% purpose and focus is how to better serve the trades, how to enhance the image of careers in the trades. And I just keep working to infiltrate general contractors and owners so that we can make it better. And that's the basis of what we're going to be talking about here in the next couple minutes. So what are we going to talk about? Discovering sweat equity improvement, which is kind of, if you're familiar with time and motion studies, that's what we're talking about, right? The reason I'm calling it sweat equity improvement is because it was a significant difference in doing and deploying that thinking to the work. How did I discover it? Then what is it? Kind of how do we do that? And then some site-specific examples, methods that we used to scale out whatever it was that we learned and spread it throughout the, we'll say, enterprise. So discovering sweat equity improvement, the picture up there is Mr. Rubin, who's an electrician. Super important. This man has retired since we met. Now I want to talk about my original thinking. So like I mentioned, 95, graduated high school, got a summer job to work out in the field to save money to pay for room and board. And I discovered I could cuss on the job site. I could smoke cigarettes on the job site. My energy was not going to be punished like it normally does in a classroom. So I decided to just make a career of it. 4 years of apprenticeship, got my journeyman license, all that good stuff, and landed with the company, TD Industries, mechanical contractor, familiar with them? Really big into leadership, and so they poured into developing us, and that's where I got introduced to lean. Now at that time, it was like 2000, maybe 01, 02, I believe lean was last planner system. And all I knew about the last planner system was the weekly work plan and the 6-week plan. They had an incentive program that rewarded us for any money that was saved over budgeted or estimated margin. The team would get a percentage of that money. So like 30% of the savings got distributed back to the team. So I had an incentive to beat the budget. I was not a lean practitioner from the perspective of serving people. I was doing it to make more damn money, which I think a lot of us kind of get there, right? So all I wanted to do was be better and smoke every damn foreman around me, because I'm gonna get promoted that way. I'm gonna get bonuses that way. And so I learned these things. Now, as I started practicing, you know, the weekly work plan, the 6-week plan, I said, well, how I'm making these plans, but they're not tied to anything. Help me understand the budget, and we understand all our cost codes, and how do you come up with that dollar amount? And then I learned there's like labor units per every half inch side, and all this super nerdy stuff, and you know, I was at home figuring that out. And again, this knowledge and information, all I was doing with it was putting more money in my pocket. Eventually, because we were able to perform and satisfy the GCs, I got more and more responsibility. I became responsible for, I put together some transitional training programs that took field installers to foreman and foreman to superintendent, because I lived the pain, right? And I think if you don't know, field personnel, we do a poor job of equipping them. Get real good at installing, right? Man, Jesse's great at mechanical rooms and he can run some damn pipe. Promotion. And then I sucked. And then I had to figure out how to get good at it. And right when I got good at it and it was cool and easy, I got promoted again and I sucked again. So the training we put together was designed to help people progress through that, minimize the pain, because it was sink or swim. And it's miserable to live in failure for years and years before you actually get good. And it was super damn expensive. Now, at this time, I'm starting to understand the value of lean, and I'm learning a whole bunch of other lean stuff. And so I became kind of this weird role of continuous improvement champion, the lean champion for the business unit. I was also studying or analyzing financial projections and labor projections to figure out that our teams aren't talking, our project managers and superintendents, and they're disconnected, and find pain points and go visit the project and use my continuous improvement powers, right? So I'd walk the job and I'd see two people in the scissor lift running half-inch copper and say, okay, you don't need two people to do that, that's a one-person job. Or come up with a list of improvement ideas and say, here you go, here's the list, do these things, get better, right? And go forth. And then come back, and nothing was done. Or maybe one or two things they implemented, and be really, really frustrated. And nobody liked me. Like, this was before I was a safety guy. No eye contact, like people would see me coming up, they're like, oh, they didn't want to talk to me. I earned that. Like, that didn't happen by accident. It was the way I was functioning that created the problem. Now, from there, I got recruited to work for, serve as a regional lean manager for a huge general contractor. And that's when the major shifts started happening. I got a call from the big boss, and he said, Jess, you need to clear your schedule for the next 6 weeks. You're going to go to Project X. We're going to have we've got some consultants coming in. The client is paying for these consultants, and they're going to teach you how to improve work. Can you guess what my first thought was? Yeah, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, I've been doing this work my whole career. Some consultants are going to come and teach me this stuff, please. Like, yeah, let's go see what these fools got. So they brought, and they weren't fools, by the way. It was Lean Enterprise Institute. If you haven't engaged with them or accessed some of their stuff, they got solid stuff. And specifically, I was lucky enough to get teamed up with Bryant Sanders, who is one of their coaches. Amazing. You ever have a coach that kind of pushes you all the time to the brink of failure and quitting, and then just backs off and makes it feel good again? And then right when all right, we're going to be friends, they drive it back in. That's him. So back to Ruben. They came in and said, we're going to teach you how to study work. It's work. And we're looking for hard work. And excuse me, don't throw me any coffee. My response was, hard work? Like, if it wasn't hard, project managers would do it. Right? This is construction. Come on, there ain't nothing hard out here. This is what we do. And so I'm thinking, we walk the job, and okay, then we come back into the trailer and we debrief, and I was like, okay, so we watched work. We didn't watch work. We just got some steps in. So we sat down and we studied Ruben. And what I mean by study, I didn't sit down, stood up and watched him for 15 minutes and wrote down every step that as fast as I could keep up of everything that he was doing. And so what happened there is one of the awakenings, right? His work sucked. It was hard. I walked by that man how many times? Nobody knows. And said, are they on track? Are they in the right place? Yep, work's happening. They're happy. Things are good there. But standing there for 15 minutes, and I'm complaining about my back because I'm a carpet dweller now, right? I don't know what it's like to work out in the field. My back's hurting, my heels are hurting, my knees are getting swollen. But as I'm observing this man do the work and writing down lists, I'm experiencing a degree of the pain that he experiences every single day. So now all of a sudden I'm compelled to do something, serve him in a different degree. So the awakening there was where I'm at today, and it's probably going to change. When it comes to being a leader and a lean practitioner, continuous improvement freak, whatever, my purpose is to remove the burden in the work, period. If I'm not removing the burden that is inherently in the work, I am failing to serve appropriately. The second awakening was, because before I got all this learning, I was like, I know the 8 wastes, right? Downtime. I have that memorized. I got a tattoo right here. It says downtime. So we we did the study, and we kind of broke it all down, brought him up. I said, hey, Ruben, come check it out. We've been watching you. And he was very nice, right? Like, yeah, sure, watch me. I don't care. We start walking them through, like, okay, here's the 4 columns: value added, incidental, waste, and hard work. And we'll come back to hard work because that's an important point. So I try to explain what value add is, and incidental, and waste. And man, when I said waste, you see all these X's here, which was the majority of the X's. This is waste. This is the stuff that you were doing. You think he said, thank you for pointing out all the waste that I'm doing? Heck no. He was about ready to hit me. He said, waste? That's the damn stuff that y'all are making me do. I said, ooh. So the awakening was, it was poorly designed work. And the waste and the way he was executing that work was a function of poorly designed work, period. And if we take ownership for that as leaders, we can affect change in such a dramatic way, it's crazy. The third awakening was, we came up with the list, right? And we let that hard work column drive the improvement ideas. Because no longer was I looking to optimize output, I was looking to make his day better. I was looking to help him hurt less at the end of the day. So I said, hey, Ruben, here's some ideas. Tool balancer and some other stuff. And again, he looked at me and he said, how the hell am I supposed to do all of that? I gotta complete installing this transfer gear, and then I gotta do that one tomorrow, and then I gotta do that one on Thursday. I can't go and order this stuff. My project manager ain't gonna spend money on that. My foreman's gonna say I'm whining and complaining. How am I supposed to do that? And it's like, damn, another one like, we say we're gonna empower them, but how really? Because his schedule is based on how many terminations he was gonna make every single day, period. He did not have the agency or the space to go and make that improvement. So these learners that were in this group, and I'm gonna get to it, we put it in place for him. And that's the sweat equity element that I'm talking about. So what's sweat equity improvement? The first top left over here, this is all scribble scratch. This is real stuff that we did out in the field. Developing a critical eye. I mentioned, right, we look at the work, we're writing down every damn step, capturing video of it so that we can go back and figure out how many steps we actually missed. What usually happens first pass is about 5 or 6 because our lenses are so high level, we're not seeing all the steps. Then we go to video and it's like, oh my goodness, it's exponentially greater. Value add, incidental waste, we put a time element, there's another column in there for the seconds of each and every single step. And a lot of people get hung up in what's value add. Anybody had that argument? Value add, incidental, no, it's so we had that. And again, Brian Sanders, amazing coach. We were having this deliberation of what's value add and what's incidental and wah. And he finally said, all right, guys, y'all can sit here and pontificate about value add and incidental for the rest of the day. In the meantime, those men and women out there are still dealing with the damn burden of the work, and you ain't helping nobody. I said, 10-4, got you, let's leave it alone. We can argue about that at lunch. Again, hard. Developing the critical eye for hard work. So when we were looking at that, and he kept saying, what's hard? He was kind of laying down, twisting around to do some of the work. That looked a little hard. He said, no, that's a lot of hard. That's disrespectful work. I said, ooh, that's an interesting thing. He said, okay, when you're looking for hard, go back to the video, and every time you saw him wring his hands, that's an indicator of hard work. Every time he took a deep breath, came out of that cabinet to take a deep breath, every time he was working in this position, or this position, or kind of gritted his eye, wiped the sweat, those are indicators of hard work. Totally transform my understanding of what hard work is. Because again, we're desensitized to it, right? Come on, man, just do the damn thing. Stop complaining. So once we get that, we again allow the hard work to drive the improvement strategy. So again, because we've collected data, there's one column Y'all are familiar with stack charts. We call them Yamazumi charts. And because I just like the word Yamazumi, right? And so we do a current state Yamazumi chart or stack chart. And now we're getting into what's cyclical, periodic, and abnormal work, right? So we know exactly what that is. We categorize that on the spreadsheets. And then the improvement strategy comes and we say, what improvement ideas do we have specifically targeted at removing the hard work? Not increasing value, not minimizing incidental, removing the hard work. There was a hard element to value-added work, there was a hard element to incidental work, and there was a hard element to the waste. Doesn't matter, remove the hard work. So now we're gonna get to buy-in, because this is the important part, right? That's what everybody wants to know. How do you get buy-in? It's on back order almost all the time, right? So we come up with the improvement strategy, and then we go back to Ruben. And we say, hey Ruben, here's our improvement ideas. And this is why. Because when you were doing this thing, he had this cool little step stool that he made out of pallets. It was just high enough for him to get up and bend over completely so that he didn't have to have that awkward bend, because it hurt less. Okay. We said, what if we found some padding and we fabricated something and put it right over the edge of the cabinet? Would that help you? Hell yeah, that would help, because my ribs are always beat up. And what if we get this tool balancer and hung it off of the, overhead so they can hold that damn crimping tool that's about this damn big? So you could do that? Yeah, that would be good. But what if we got some magnets and some lights and said, no, that's stupid, I ain't gonna do that. Why is that important? Because we could go and exhaust all the resources to gather up all this junk, and if he is not gonna do it, why are we gonna do it? Right? Now, truth be told, eventually we did the other thing. But first pass was, what is he committed to doing and what's going to make his day better? So we got his input. He said, green light, oh, that one's kind of cool. What if you did this? Could you do this? Could you do that? He's the one living the pain. Who better to inform us on what the appropriate improvement is? So we did that. We went and spent some money, we went shopping, put some stuff together. And then, so down to the deploy sweat equity. Then we put the thing in place for him. And that was gigantic. Like, I didn't know how important that was. I knew I was kind of learning some stuff, worried about my emails stacking up and voicemails stacking up. But when we went and put it in place, he showed up and he just said, oh man, y'all did this. We got there, he started at 6, we got there at 5, and kind of got it geared up, and he's like, okay. And then he went to town and went and started doing his work. And he's smiling. There was one point where he smiled at us and he gave a thumbs up. He's like, oh man, we should have got that on video. That was great marketing, right? And so that's the picture down there, is we didn't give the improvement ideas to the installer. We put it in place for them, right? And we tweaked it and messed around with it ever since that. Do you think we had buy-in from Ruben? Yeah? Easy. It was a lot of contact, it was a lot of communication, a lot of time invested. Now, I mentioned earlier how people don't want to make eye contact with me, and that was exactly the situation when we first showed up. A bunch of nerds showing up with legal pads and cameras and talking all this weird, they're all talking the same weird words they're using. When we came back the next round, the team, because he was with the electricians, so the electricians were like, hey bro, are y'all gonna come check us out? Like, what? Like, man, we heard about Ruben, you helped Ruben, can you help us? Like, I think so, like, let's work that out. So, what's important to note is this was our first pass at learning this thing. And the learners were comprised of myself, I was a regional lean manager, local business unit lean managers, owner, the project manager for the subcontractor, the trade partner. This is significant because I'll say this, where I have fallen short as a continuous improvement person is I'm always looking at what can be fixed and shaken out in the field and feel like it's just their problem. And why don't they do better? Why don't they know better? They're just, judgment is where I was coming from. Having the owner there was significant because What he said was, we order these damn cabinets. We approve the design of those cabinets. We're building tons and tons of these data centers across the country. We've got 5 in the pipeline right now. What if we built it for that bus bar to be this high instead of this high, which was causing most of the damn burden, right? Bam, amazing, right? Breakthrough. Project manager, there was another improvement idea that we had that was going to move the work from this crew to the other crew. The other crew said, I've got my quota to make. But we knew what the game was. It took an operation, it was like 200 some odd minutes, labor minutes, to like 23. And it moved it. The other team said, how are we going to do that? Project manager knew. He said, yeah, you are. And you're fine. Like, yes, you're not going to pull this money cable. But we got 62 PDUs to hook up to do this damn work. And we're going to save 200, let's say 200 minutes per PDU. Heck yeah, you're going to do that thing. So them being there to experience the outcomes of the improvement ideas help make those things happen. Now back to Ruben. We did the improvement stuff, which is fun, right? We're learning, we're getting in good. They're not kicking us out, he's not beating us up. My truck didn't have any flat tires at the end of the week. Ruben comes back the next day and said, like, all right, Ruben, what'd you think? How did yesterday go? He said, man, I went home. I played with my grandkids. I talked to my wife. I helped her clean up. It's just the first time I've ever gone home and didn't pass out on the lazy boy. So I'm about to retire in a few months, and had I been working this way, I might have 5 or 6 years. Right? Like that's some touchy-feely stuff. But the responsibility is, the way the work was designed, we were taking life away from him. I shouldn't even say past tense. We are taking life away from our trade partners. We're telling them to get better and let's take the waste out. How about we take some ownership? Get out there and deploy some sweat equity and understand the work and experience the pain that they live every day, a small degree of it, and then do something about it. There's a lot of really fancy, nerdy things that are behind this. It was a big learning thing. But fundamentally, when we do it to serve human beings, it sticks. You get buy-in. So here's another example. And it's important to know, like I kind of described it as, we just showed up, and we did, and it was funky. It's just weird, right? It's just a different environment for everybody. There's an element that we figured out after that first round that we call tilling the ground. So what does tilling the ground mean? That means I go out early. There's one person, the improvement leader, goes out early and engages with the team that is going to be studied. And kind of gets embedded there. Like, they put me to work. And they would only allow me to clean up, but that was cool, right? Because as I was there, I was able to start mapping out their process, like their overall process. Because when I asked them, what's your process? Like, bro, we show up and we make it happen. Like, no, but what are the steps? Get out of my way, I'm trying to work. Cool. I'll push a broom and I'm taking notes. And so the foreman took the opportunity to like really brag. Like, this is what we're doing here, this is so-and-so responsible for that, and these are the things that we're doing. So that when my gang showed up with their cameras and legal pads, they were, there were chefs. It was cool. So as I was studying them, this is just a little spaghetti diagram of what they were assembling, the structure for a hot aisle containment unit. And this was the forklift, the path of the forklift. I'm like, guys, isn't that bad? They're like, no, it's just the way we go. We're doing X amount. And here's the thing. They were beating the budget. Like, their projections, they were performing. Almost in every case, every team was like beating the budget or set up to beat the budget. But when we stopped to look at it, there was tremendous gains to be had. So I drew this picture and like, what are you doing? I said, I'll show you in a little bit. And then I said, hey guys, what do you think about that? And like, we're gonna kill somebody. I said, exactly. Right? And most of those are reverse. He's backing up on the forklift, and it was, ported off and such. Then I said, well, we drew this other pretty picture that we're calling future state. of rearranging the location of the materials, the laydown area, the assembly area, the forklift, deployed it, said, what do you think? They said, no, let's move X, Y, and Z. Okay, so we moved X, Y, and Z. And in the morning, we came in before then and got the pallet jacks, because I still know how to use one of those. Moved the things, got them set up, and they went to town. They went from a 4-man crew to a 2-man crew. And we're putting out the same rate. Because we helped redesign the work. Now, as it goes to scalability, an observation I've had is what we anchor on is the tool. So what's like, oh, we can scale this. What we need to do is draw a map for everybody to put their stuff a certain way. Well, there is value there. There is value there. That's not what we decided to scale. What we were focused on scaling was the thinking. That's what we need to focus on scaling. Building those capabilities within our leaders